Hi doll! Hi there YouTube! So today I'm taking a look at one of my newest videos. She is Xiao Qinglong from the 12's War series made by Cang toys. And I'm hoping I'm pronouncing everything right. So, we have a pretty big ass box. For comparison, I have here a bigger Figma box, slightly shorter. Well, Qinglong's box is slightly taller. This bit, and then quite a bit wider. And a whole lot wider. Almost 2/3. No, the Figma box is only 2/3 of Long Ji's box. Long's box. And the whole box is quite a thick cardboard. Not a corrugated cardboard, but in comparison to the Figma box, it's about several times thicker. So the whole box has a slightly pearlescent finish, and we have varying shades of blue, teal and green in lots of different gradients. So in front of the box we have an illustration of the character with her name and the 12's War logo and the company manufacturer logo. On the left side we have a zoomed in picture of the illustration, the right side a picture of the figure, the back picture, more pictures of the figure and all of the accessories she comes with, and we also have a holographic sticker here for Cang toys. The bottom has a Cang toys logo, and I see I got some damage at the box, and you see that it is silver foil. And the top has the 12's War logo. So both the sides have this sticker of the Cang Toys logo to keep the box closed. Opening up, we have the blister packaging. So we have quite a nice bit of stuff packaged in here. We have 1, 2, 3 trays. So the trays were originally taped together, and between tray 2 and 3 we have this package with a pamphlet of other characters from the 12's War series. So these are from the Chinese zodiac, the horse, the tiger, the snake and the rabbit. Then from the Western zodiac we have Taurus, and what's it called? Whatever. And then at the bottom we have the illustrations of the enemies, and the back or front we have an illustration of Qinglong. In here we also have a card made from the same cardboard and with the same finish as the box. We also have some nice gold edges. Back TWSX001. It's worth mentioning at the moment there's only the model kit of this one also available for pre-order. Okay. And between tray 2 and 3 we have stand arm parts and instruction manual in a ziplock, as well as some screws and bolts, some nuts and bolts. So On one side we have the parts list and some product info in Chinese and English. Then we start with some basic instructions: how to replace the face, how to add the pipe, how to add the tail. You can pull the shoulders out for a bit more range and posability. And you can pull the legs down for a bit better range of motion, how to change accessories, how to do the stand, etc. And it does come on a runner like this, like a model kit. So most of the accessories are covered in a plastic bag. So, starting off with the base. It's black with a lot of Chinese furniture motifs and a golden pattern on top. You can open it for storage. It has several holes so you can place the stands. So. Next up we have this stand for the fan. It's just plain brown with a few motifs, decorative motifs, and it seems to be ABS, or the plastic that model kits are usually made of. Next up we have a chair. Nicely detailed, once again lightweight ABS type plastic with some nice detailing. It is completely hollow in the bottom. So the second layer, that's how that looks like. So we have our folding screen, once again with some nice patterning. I think it's supposed to go in here. Yeah, this should be the front. It can move. Next up is the fan. Okay. We have some plastic markings from the molds, and the painting is pretty nice. Just zoom in there, focus, and it goes from a nice green to teal gradient. The gold isn't as vibrant and it's more a metallic gold. Next we have this piece, which serves as both a sheath for her sword, and if you open it up, it can plug into the fan to complete it. There, and she can hold it here. Next up is the tail. The tail is taped down. Now has nice blue and green colors. The painting is okay, we have some paint flaws, and it has an embedded wire, so it can be posed to a certain extent. Just be wary about damaging the paint and the plastic. It is more of a slightly soft PVC, so it is still pretty rigid, so be careful. It plugs into her back with this little joint that's on a ball hinge. On to the next layer, the main figure. So we can see here that not everything is covered in a plastic layer, like her pipe, her extra arm, her faces and hair and extra hands. So first off we have her sword. It is nicely detailed in black and gold and a bit of green with some very detailed patterning. See, next we have this fire piece. It's a clear red to orange to yellow, and the sword just fits in here. It does seem to get stuck here, but it can go all the way like this. Just needs a tiny bit of force. Next is her pipe. So the tassel is just a solid chunk, but it is attached to the pipe with some thread. It's very tiny and quite detailed. Next up, we have an extra front dress piece so she can sit. I'll show you how that's used later. It's nicely detailed. It does have a slight flex to it at the thinner parts. Then we have an extra arm. It's double jointed, although the armor gets in the way. So, very nicely painted. And I love the gradient on this upper arm piece. And I'm off screen. The hand on here is the dragon hand with the claws, and it's quite nicely detailed for the size and sharp looking. Next we have an extra hairpiece. It's just a plain hairpiece compared to the one she currently has on her. So then she has 3 extra faces. This one's the angry shouting face. Nicely detailed. Reminds me a lot of Black Hawk shooter faces. Meow meow meow. Interfering, kitty. Next we have a happy face with closed eyes. And all of her faces has a quite intense blush. I have to say the painting of the eyes is nice, but the painting of the mouth is very plain. Next we have a sideways looking face. I don't quite know what expression you would call it, but I guess it depends on your application for it. Could be shy or annoyed or anything else. Now for extra hands, she has 2 open palms with green painted on top. Okay, so 2 hands with the fingers pointed. And 2 holding hands, one of which is for her dragon arm. The claws on this hand isn't as detailed in comparison to the default hand. And finally the figure. She is nicely wrapped up in plastic so she doesn't get damaged. And here she is. She stands pretty nicely out of the box, and she is pretty hefty. Let's just get her posture right so she's not looking at the roof. There we go. So first thing to note is she is pretty tall. So here she is to Luca, an average sized Figma, more than a head and a half tall, even though she has some really high heels. But they are in the same scale, so they don't look unnatural next to each other. And bringing out one of my tallest Figmas is Figma Lelouch, who is also, even when on his stand, quite a bit shorter than her. So she is tall, but she does scale well in comparison to Figma and SH Figure Arts. And I didn't use an SH Figure Arts as an example, but they scale with Figmas. So Qinglong comes with a hairpiece with a flame effect in clear red to orange to yellow plastic like her sword, and it's very reminiscent of Black Hawk Shooter, including the eye style, which I mentioned on the shouting face. Her default expression is a neutral smiling face. The sculpting in her hair is pretty nice, although nothing unique or special in this scale, but we do have some slight gapping here on her left side. Her horns are pretty sturdy, but if they get a hard enough impact they will probably break, as well as the flame piece. The back of her hair, she has a bun and two pigtails. The bun is stationary and the hairpins look quite nice, although a little bit plain. Although at this scale it would probably be a bit difficult to get more details in. So the hair pigtails are on ball joints. I can turn around and rotate. So it would have been, they do look quite a bit like Chinese lanterns, and it would have been a lovely detail if they actually painted the edge pieces gold, because you can see that they do have sculpting. The hair at the back of the head looks really nice, and the pigtails are pretty average, but they do look good. I do have some red paint transfer on her one pigtail here. There. And her ears have a darker to lighter green teal gradient. Overall, even though individually all the pieces on her head would be fragile, somehow they don't feel too fragile with all of them together. Okay, so going down, the painting details all over her clothes are pretty nice, with the gold and the black and the brown. We do have some missing paint over here right at the edge, but that's like a minuscule detail. Now, she is pretty well sculpted, and I'm sure some people will pay attention to some parts more than others. But I have to say, the way they sculpted her torso, I've seen many people trying to pose her, and she looks like this. Okay, let's zoom out or move away, and it makes, in most photos, look like she has a saggy chest. And so it's a bit, the sculpting is a bit awkward to make it look a bit nicer. You have to lean her a bit back more and the face down more. Okay, continuing on with the details. So one of the flaws I'd say is this cutout on her side is painted the skin color over black, and it's very obviously painted and in a single layer, so you can see the black underneath and it looks more like a decoration than anything else. And sculpting on the strap that goes around to her back is pretty nice, and it is on a slightly softer PVC, so unless you mess around with it like you shouldn't, it won't be likely to break. The sculpting on her back, we can see some of her dragon hair fur that goes down onto her tail, and there's the hole in her back for her tail. She has an interesting sectioning over here. So she has an upper torso and middle torso, and then the kind of a panty bit, which is mainly the skin color, which goes over her clothes, which, although normal Normally you would have like a normal panty bit and not this skin color, which makes it look a bit off. But unless you're paying close attention to it, it's not that noticeable. Just a thing to note. Okay, so one thing I'm worried about is the tassels on her legs. They are not flexible. They have a slight flex, and I've heard of people breaking theirs. So this wasn't the best decision. I have a feeling that I'm going to break them off, and if I do, I'm going to drill a hole through the gold bit and wrap a wire to make a loop and put that into the tassel. Hopefully it will make it posable and keep it from falling off again. So moving down, we have some nice decal applications here on her dress. And the back is plain. And then her legs. She has a gradient from skin tone to green, and she has flame patterns painted. Well, it's obviously decals, and the finish of the decals is a semi-gloss. I don't know how intentional that was, but it's very noticeable. And then you go down to her heels, super black and shiny, and super high heels. So her outfit seems to be some kind of cheongsam, or was it? I'm hoping I pronounced that correctly. So she's wearing something like a cheongsam with kind of a bodysuit mixed something. Her default hands is a holding hand on her left, and on her right is the hand to hold her pipe. On her wrists, she has some sculpted scales and a green to dark green gradient on these wrist pieces. So the bells on her wrists do swivel around a bit, and they are pretty much everything is nicely painted. So here and there is a little bit of excess paint or a little bit of too little paint, but overall she's really nicely painted and sculpted. Excuse me while I remove the dust from the middle of her chest. And I'm back, and I thought while I'm at it, I might as well compare her to the figure who up until now had the biggest bust in my collection. So as you can see, our Xiao Qinglong has the advantage in height and proportions. So she is at current my, so to say, sexiest figure. So just for an accurate measurement's sake, she stands at about 16.4 centimeters tall without her horns, and with her horns she's just about 17.1 centimeters. So although she scales well with the normal 112 figures, she is a bit bigger. Although a lot of 112 scale figures are labeled as 112, but they're bigger or smaller. Okay, let's start from the top with the posing. The pigtails are on ball joints. You can completely rotate and turn a bit. The head is on a double ball joint, a ball in the neck and a ball in the head, although the ball in the head is a bit tight. The faces do change easily, but the second hair piece does go on a bit stiffer. So her head can go all the way down, staying just past the bosom, and can go quite a bit up. The chest, quite a bit down, and a lot up. With the chest and head, she can look up. Some side to side of the chest, and we have a slight bit of rotation. So for the shoulders, they mentioned you can pull them out a bit for greater posability. Okay. But as you can see, I am not succeeding at that. Okay, there we go. Compares. It's quite insignificant amount. And she has a ball inside the shoulder and a ball hinge on the outside, which attaches to her arm. Up and that much, and quite well against her body. Her chest does limit some movement a bit. And pulling the joint out. Okay, let's see. She can move her arms to get it that much. She has some rotation at the bicep, which is where we will change out her other arm. It just pegs in. And it also has rotation, although the decorative elements do make that you have to be a bit more careful about what you're doing over there. She has double jointed elbows on both arms, although the armored dragon claw one is limited because of the armor. Her wrist, normal wrist has this much back, this much forward, and all the way, rotating all the way. And I'm back. So as you can see, you should be a bit careful with the bells on her wrist. Okay, the bells can rotate. So this is on a ball hinge. So the instructions show we can pull her leg down, but I think it's more of a case of pushing the panty piece up. As you can see, that the hole for the tail is no longer as visible. So I can pull down without pulling out the waist piece. So in theory, you should be able to pull the joint out along the shaft, but as you can see, that is a very... I'm not succeeding, so yeah, I'm not going to put that on anyone else. Anyway, so when the panty piece is pulled down, without stowing the tassel, she goes about this much. The panty piece pushed up. We do have an almost 90-degree bend. And you can see the tassel is tearing over there. So you can split about this much. Once again, the tassel piece is slightly in the way, but it's not going to break from this pose. And there is very limited movement towards the back. She has a 360-degree thigh swivel because it's just on a peg. Her knees are double jointed and has a pretty nice range. Her ankles are on a ball hinge, this much back, quite a bit forward. We have rotation at the ankle and the foot, although the one at the ankle is not as much as at the foot. The wrist for her dragon arm, quite a bit of motion downwards, but not as much up because of the armor. So, and that goes for the side to side, depending on where the armor is as well. So she has a good bit of range, although not the greatest. but she does have her strong suits. I love the double jointed elbows and knees, but she's pretty average. And I'm struggling to center my camera now. Okay. So for her pipe, it just slots in like that. Dangling tassel I find really nice. So if we switch her arm back to the normal arm, so she has a holding hand, we can put this in there. We do have to force her fingers around a bit. Okay, those wrist pieces are definitely going to be very annoying. Let's try to do this while the hand is removed. Maybe that will make it easier. I have to say, this is quite a bit of a big area for the hand to hold on to. There. But it does fit quite snugly. The sword handle is also pretty wide, so I'm assuming we'll be having the same problems. But the shape is more regular, so it does seem to be a bit easier. For the sword, if you remove this piece from the fan, just remember that is part of the fan. I keep trying to pull it off. It goes in like this, and it stays put pretty well. Her wrist pegs are a bit short on the side it goes into the arm. I think I would have rather these bell pieces not be movable. So I'm putting up back her dragon claw because it's cool. And now I'm going to add a tail. It does seem to have a pretty deep peg. But it is pretty snugly even if it doesn't has a gap in the connection. Let's see if she can stand with her tail. Okay. The tail does seem to make her a bit off balance, but it can work. She is not touching anything. So next part I'm going to show you how to change out the front part of her dress. So you just pop her chest off and then pop it off. It's quite an interesting design, and if you didn't want the dress, you can also always putty that up. And I'm curious, she does slouch a lot more when that front piece is removed. So we just plug it back in. So there she is with her second front skirt piece. So she will probably not be able to sit with the tail because we won't be able to move the panty piece upwards in order to bend her leg properly. So let's get her chair out. Move that panty piece upwards. Oopsie! I'm usually not that rough with my figures. So her legs do not really touch her skirt, but here she is sitting. The back part of her skirt is averagely flexible for PVC, but it still has to hang off the back of her chair. And their leg pops off. Moving her panty piece downwards again. And removing this piece again. It's definitely to take off and put on when the chest is removed. Although it's a cool piece, since I'm afraid the tassel is going to break, it's not going to break where I can fix it. I am likely not going to be using it that much. Okay, so for this, let's get this piece back. And it's supposed to go like that. And that's a basic showcase of all her accessories. So off screen I built her stand. I'm assuming this is meant for other figures that might have different accessories. So it is a waist hugging stand. And it does fit nicely around her waist. It does take a bit of maneuvering to get right though. Rather than holding her waist, the boobs are holding the stand. To an extent. Okay, so that was all the basic accessories. Swapping hands are just pulling the hand off and putting it back. And as we saw with these hands, removing the hand from the peg is a bit harder than removing the peg from the arm. So it's worth noting that the side of the indent goes to the wrist and the other side to the peg. Otherwise it doesn't fit that well. Last test, I'm going to see whether or not most of her stuff can go into her base. As you can see, it doesn't close, and the main culprit of that is the stand for the fan. It's just a bit too wide, but you can pretend it's closed. It's just a slight bit, unfortunately. So that's a bit disappointing. Which means we'll always have to have the fan on display, or at least a fan stand on display somewhere. And that was Xiao Qinglong from Cang Toys from the 12's War series. The first posable figure in their line. In most websites you will see some mecha kits, so I'm not sure if you consider that to be their first stuff or not, but this is their first female figure. And like I mentioned, they do have that other kit for the character from the 12 War series on pre-order. Okay, so for the first figure, she's really nice, or at least an early figure, whatever you want to call it. She has decent posability, she has nice painting, she has a lot of accessories and a pretty nice base which you can store most of them in. And she's a pretty nice figure, and I'd say that she has a decent price. But with all of the accessories and her big box comes a pretty hefty shipping price. I shipped her on her own, and she was just below the limit of a ml small packet. So if you have her shipped with anything else, it's going to be definitely going over to ml. So is she worth it? I think so. Would I get another one from the series? Maybe. Depends if I like the design. So far from what I've seen of these other characters, they don't appeal to me as much. Okay. But in general, Mecha Musume doesn't appeal to me as much as the shoujo figures. So far from those announced, I don't have interest in any other. Although the snake design does look a bit elegant, in a way. But we'll have to see if the thing she comes with makes her worth it. Because as far as design goes, our Qinglong wins. So thanks for watching the review. I will be taking some more pictures, and I hope you enjoyed. Let's just tilt the chest a bit up so she doesn't look like she has saggy boobs. And she's been out of focus. I've been struggling with that a lot today. Hopefully most of the footage is usable. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.